sing and swing.
Evening visit with Mrs. Franklin D. Roosevelt.
2 o'clock on Thursday afternoon in Manila.
And now we bring you Forbidden Diary, the true World War II story of Natalie Crowter, based on her secret journal written from a Japanese prison camp in the Philippines. Episode 10, Auld Lang Syne. Previously on Forbidden Diary.
Curiously, a handful of people with jobs or permanent assignments in town were allowed to stay and live in Baguio.
Why do you wear pants?
Gee, I don't know, Mr. Nakamura.
You should wear a dress. Only field hands wear pants. You're a disgrace yourself.
The brown intelligence car full of officers came to question the young Nang about the Chinese who are hiding in the hills and anxious to hand themselves in.
And now, Episode 10.
May 10, 1942. Camp Holmes. All afternoon, about 100 Chinese living in the hills straggled into camp. In every direction, bundles and suitcases were opened by guards and poured out on the ground. The picture of ourselves as we came in. My friend Lillian Lim, the trim, stylish sophisticate, was just another person in blue denim trousers. Her mother, with a blue cap wound about her head, was serene as ever, sitting on the ground by the guardhouse. Lillian waved at us and pointed to her drawn cheeks, calling out, "No more rouge," showing empty hands. May 12th, 1942. We all laughed a few months ago when one of the guards said that there were too many Chinese to imprison, but maybe he was right. With little notice, the Japanese set free our barracks neighbors and are urging them to open stores and start businesses again. Everything back to normal. For Japan, not America. So this is what occupation is like, how it went in China. Starvation, weakness, fear, terror, and finally, submission. All the Chinese not driving trucks, delivery wagons, or cars walked to Baguio this morning. Many used the old shoulder pole system of luggage transportation. They also carried packs, boxes, looted army trunks, burlap sacks, and red blankets holding all belongings. Down the hill they trekked, checked off in line, on the march with only what they have salvaged, a replica of thousands in occupied countries around the world. One fellow carried out a grey cat yowling inside a burlap sack. Later, I watched an older woman tottering along on diminutive, lily-bound feet, followed by the distinguished-looking language teacher from Peking in a long olive-green gown, her hair coiled in braids above a lovely face. They left in a truck with others, a Shanghai ama lonely and weeping in a group of Cantonese, a husky peasant woman with a bandana on her head, and Leung Nang with his wife and 7 children, the littlest in a sailor suit with a red collar. The Chinese barracks are silent now, the murmur of departure stilled. Nang waved to us as his truck turned down the hill, out of sight. May 21st, 1942. When I met Jerry at the talking fence today, I knew something was up. He looked sheepish and pleased all at once. Or perhaps it could be termed rueful. He said that he'd been summoned to see Nakamura. What did he have to say?
Well, you know they're letting Americans live in Baguio.
Yes.
It's probably coming from high command, because Nakamura was sure pushing it.
Pushing what?
Internees living in town. You have to have a sponsor.
But we didn't put anyone down when Nakamura asked. Remember, we don't want to put anyone in jeopardy.
Yeah, that's what we agree on.
And that it's safer to wait out the war in here.
Yeah, well, then Nakamura asked me who Nida and Ismael are.
Oh, no. What did you say?
What could I? I told him they used to work for us. Then Nakamura tells me he's got a letter signed from them guaranteeing their support for us if we want to live in Baguio.
Oh, those dear, dear people.
I don't want to ever hear anyone say again in my presence that Filipinos aren't loyal.
You at home cannot know, without 5 months like ours behind us, how wonderful was the glow, the warmth of all this. To have Nida and Ismael volunteer to sponsor us was tremendous. We can imagine them planning, talking it over, putting the words down on paper, committing themselves irrevocably to any future whim or accusation of the invader. Do the Japanese know that they are strengthening bonds between Americans and Filipinos, more lasting than any built during prosperity or gold mine boom? It is beyond the price of all possessions which war may have stripped from us. May 23rd, 1942. Another lovely day. Someone shared a cup of tea with me, another a mango. Babies had their baths in a fire bucket, and a guard just marched toward the guardhouse with a gun over one shoulder and a long, vivid green banana leaf over the other. And there goes Nakamura, clenching another one of his lists in his hands. Lately he's been busy hunting up sponsors, even for those he doesn't like. Evidently, we weren't the only ones who turned him down. There's been a turnaround in guards lately. The Japanese don't like to keep soldiers here for more than a few months, so our guards come and go. One of the soldiers, a sergeant, came from Bataan breathing fire and is now most eager to talk and express himself. While June drew clothes for her paper doll, he sat next to her and began to sketch pictures of kimonos for her.
Look, Mummy.
He's very good.
Kimono man. Kimono woman. Girl.
The men have short sleeves and the girls is longer than the woman's.
はい。これを見ろ。
It's a pair of pants.
Pants?
Yes.
Men, boys, yes. Women, girls, no. これから私の村を描いてみせる。
What's he drawing, Mummy?
It looks like a mountain and a village below.
I like the village.
Is this your home?
何?
Home.
Home.
ああ、故郷。
Kokyo.
Kokyo.
Home.
The sergeant communicated to us that he doesn't like the way American women push open doors, and gave us a graceful pantomime of a Japanese woman kneeling, sliding the door slowly, quietly. He then wrote Japanese words in English letters to the lyrics of Auld Lang Syne and a Japanese song. As I watched him draw a second picture, I noticed the U.S. buttons on his jacket and realized that he was wearing an American soldier's army coat, probably shortened to size with a knife or bayonet. We learned that the sergeant is 26. I wonder how old our American soldier was. May 26, 1942. The committee chairman announced that our camp grade school will be allowed to start tomorrow. It's taken quite some time to get approval because nothing is allowed without Nakamura's consent. I heard that the men had a big discussion about it at first meal.
Yes, I know. It took a long time to open, but it's starting tomorrow.
That's great news, Dr. Dean.
There was a hang-up with history and geography.
Jim's right. Our close friend, Lieutenant Mukibo, wasn't too keen on either subjects. So now we're teaching biography.
They even wanted to ban math because they didn't like an arithmetic problem in the textbook. It asked something like, if so much of a certain product were grown in Manchuria now, how much could be grown if the Japanese were no longer there?
We'll find a way around it, just like we did for the other subjects.
Well, I know June's looking forward to going back to school. All of our kids have missed a lot of school.
I'd say that my daughter's already received an education here. She's always had everything handed to her, but here she's learned how to wait on tables, wash floors, and take care of herself.
Yeah, and how to go hungry.
True, but she's also learning how to live with different people. She's grown up.
Both my kids sure know now what it means to pull your own weight.
Yeah, I agree. Don't get me wrong. I wish this never happened. But, we're stuck here, and my kids are doing things they'd never have done. Like washing their own clothes and climbing up a trail to take food to the lumberjacks. The other day, my son worked with the crew lifting sheet iron so it could be attached to the new runway.
Yeah, BD's learning how to grow vegetables.
Well, your kids are sure learning about the Japanese.
We gotta find something worthwhile in here for our kids.
Crowder, you remind me of that joke about the father tells his two boys he's bought him a pony.
Oh yeah? How's that?
Well, he then takes him to a pile of manure, and the first son stomps away mad, but the second grabs a shovel and says, "Oh, there's gotta be a pony in there."
Well, then I guess that makes you the first son.
You're absolutely correct, Jerry. I ain't digging out that pony.
May 30, 1942. Our move to Camp Holmes went quickly, but it's taken weeks to reestablish routines. People are now settled back into their jobs. Doctors offer services so that their skills don't become rusty. They want to keep alive mentally. Mining engineers, teachers, missionaries, and businessmen all feel in a backwater. They're glad to work in the shop, in the kitchen, or on the hill until they're dead tired. Work is the great healer, the strong motivational power that keeps us normal. Unfortunately, petty and territorial habits remain. When two men brought over a table from the shop, Enid asked them to carry a second one, but they declined. So she suggested that a couple of the garbage crew could help. Well, oh my! The men expressed their horror at such an encroachment. It recalls the unions. Paper hangers who must not touch a brick or board. Stage workers who only move sets without touching a curtain rope. Good old rugged American individualism.
Camp Holmes Daily News. Every crew on the campus thinks the other crews don't do any work. The committee thinks none of them do any work. The rest of the camp thinks the committee is loafing. Actually, they're all right and wrong. A lot of work does get done here, despite all insinuations. If it didn't, we'd all be in a bad way.
Jim keeps himself on the job with the Camp Holmes Daily News, but Nakamura approves every word. We're so starved for news that anyone who returns from a hospital visit is given the third degree. An authentic, what we call real news from the outside, is distributed through word of mouth. No real source is given, but I have my suspicions that Dr. Dean and one of the engineers are somehow in on it.
Why'd I get called to the clinic, Dr. Dean? Nothing's wrong with me, is there?
Close the door, Phil. I want to talk to you about something while the assistants are on break. If they come back early, I'm checking your athlete's foot, so take off a shoe.
You're serious, aren't you?
Yes.
What's this about?
I've got a big favor to ask.
Shoot.
It's something that's dangerous to know about.
How dangerous?
Well, it involves contraband, and I need your help.
Deal me in.
I got a shortwave radio.
Jesus, where'd you get that?
Notre Dame Hospital. I brought it into camp with a bunch of medical supplies. I got a Japanese interpreter to carry the package into camp.
Oh, man, Doc, you got guts. Where is it?
Let me find out if you can fix it first. It's missing an antenna. Got any ideas that won't get us killed?
This hospital's got an antenna.
Yeah, but it was hit during the bombings. The Japanese haven't bothered with it, so it must be irreparable.
Well, it's not. Yeah, I checked it out when I was fixing some shorts in the building's wiring. And if I can get a thin piece of magnet wire, I can attach it to the antenna and the radio's lead-in.
That would be fantastic, but how do we access the antenna without anyone knowing?
Cut a hole in the storage room next to it. I can put a false door behind the boxes of bandages, but short waves are noisy, so we're gonna need some headphones.
You can find some?
Probably not, but I can borrow a telephone and make a headset from the earphones.
Shh, it sounds like they're back. Yeah, it's just a case of the jungle crud, Phil. Oh, you're back. Hazel, would you give Phil here some Desinex for his athlete's foot? I want to see him back here in a week.
Thanks, Doc.
Oh, and Phil, while you're here, would you fix the lights in the medical supply room?
They were working this morning.
I'll just check them while I'm here. Might be another short.
Yeah, thanks, Phil.
You bet.
Don't forget your foot powder.
Yes, don't forget your foot powder, Philip. You've been here for the last 16 hours, Hazel. Why don't you get some shut-eye? We'll find someone to spot you.
And who would that be? Everyone's sick with ptomaine poisoning. Half the camp was up with it last night. Phil's ready for you in room 2. Now he's complaining about a sinus infection. He looks healthy to me. You'd think he could wait until all this is over.
Yeah, I'll see him anyway. Thank you, Hazel. Did you do it, Phil?
Yep, we're all set. I can get KGEI out of San Francisco and the BBC.
Oh, that's fantastic. We are in business.
The Saigon station comes in clear as a bell, but it's all out of Vichy, France.
Well then, maybe we get some news from the Führer.
And get this, I even picked up a Russian station in Shanghai. The headphones aren't fancy, but they're as silent as a nun's fart.
Oh, you're a genius, Phil. When can I use it?
I've been thinking about that, Doc. We gotta really look at this from all angles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jim can't be reporting this stuff in the newsletter like he's Edward R. Murrow. Nakamura and Lieutenant Makibo start sniffing around.
I'm not comfortable with putting Jim in danger. He's just a kid.
He's gonna know eventually.
Then some sort of word-of-mouth system?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's test it first, start out small.
June 11, 1942. For her birthday, June was thrilled to get a bag from Nida containing a bouquet of tiger lilies, gladioli, and benguet lilies from our terraced garden at home. There were 4 eggs from Nida's own chickens, 2 pineapples, and a bag of cookies, which June shared like pieces of birthday cake with 6 different families. But June kept saying,
"When are we going home? I want to go home."
She often weeps from homesickness when we hear from Nida. Jerry's secretary, Miss Ramos, sent a birthday package of bread, 4 mangoes, and a jar of jam. Marie and Betty gave June candy and canned meat. Because the Japanese are lax right now, the 4 of us had a birthday picnic out by the wire on a little seat built around the fir tree.
What did you bring us to eat, Daddy?
I haven't even spread the blanket out yet, Beatty.
Canned corned beef sandwiches with onion and salt. 3 each.
Thank you, Daddy.
Yum.
Beatty. The birthday girl gets the first sandwich.
I know what June wants for her birthday. That American soldier.
I do not.
Oh, stop it, Beatty. I think everyone likes him. The kids hero worship him.
You mean that kid who drives the delivery truck?
He's from Nebraska.
And too old for you.
I always wonder what happens to those GIs.
He probably won't be here for long.
No. I think Nakamura's still on the hunt for people to live in Baguio.
Did I tell you Dr. Lee got a permit to live there for 2 years?
Why don't we go home?
Honey, the grass isn't that much greener in town.
People say it's lonely and boring.
Your mother's right. You can't leave your house without a pass, and you're a big burden on the people who sponsor you.
And you might not get to live in your home. Even Nakamura's house has been looted and destroyed.
Then why did Dr. Lee leave?
To have her baby. And for work, I suppose. She'll be closer to the hospital.
Daddy! Look at my snail.
That's a good-looking snail, son.
See how his horns are moving? That's how he feels his way.
How'd you know that?
School.
See, June, you'd miss school and your friends.
I miss Nida.
I know you do, sweetie.
Hey, I've got 2 big surprises.
What is it?
What have you got, Daddy?
The first is a frying pan. Ta-da! I made it myself in the shop.
Oh.
Beatty, do you know what a frying pan means? Independence. Daddy can make our meals now.
And I won't have to serve dinner in an apricot can. For the second surprise, you have to close your eyes, June. Are they closed?
Uh-huh.
Okay, Beatty, give me a drum roll. Okay, you can open them.
Oh, a jar of honey.
With some bread for dessert.
It's even got a candle in it.
Well, you don't turn 13 every day. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear June. Happy birthday to you.
And here's a pinch to grow an inch.
Make a wish and blow out the candle, June.
June gets the first slice of bread. Oh, watch that, honey, Beatty. It's dripping down your chin. June 14, 1942. When the truck came back from Baguio Market, we headed over to see if there was a package, and who should step out of the car behind it but Lieutenant Mukibo himself. Young, thinned down, and smooth as ever. It's the first time he's come anywhere nearer than the guardhouse. He ordered that all of the children be called over, and gave each a handful of candy, colored gumdrops, chocolate caramels, and nougats called good pomposity on the wrapping. He smiled that constrained, secret little smile, bowing to the children, looking very kind and good. Afterwards, the adults came over to kiss his ring. Old Mrs. Watson was introduced to talk about living in Baguio, and others pushed in like old friends. In contrast to his mien with the children, Lieutenant Mukibo told a British mother waiting to take her small infant to join her husband in Manila.
Your country and my country are at war. You cannot expect me to be interested in doing for your comfort.
I've lost track of the people moving in and out of camp lately. After a group of internees left to live in Baguio, 3 big trucks arrived loaded with American and European missionaries, including nuns in their dark robes and high, stiff headdresses, families, one with 6 children badly sunburned, and priests in long robes and high collars. All was disorder as they piled out. Bags and boxes were opened for inspection all over the ground as Nakamura poked into every crevice. The group had only been interned 3 weeks and had no idea they were coming here until 5 o'clock yesterday evening. When we learned that they had listened to the radio every day before being captured, we gathered around them, anxious for news. Until others go to Manila tomorrow, they'll probably have to sleep in the aisles tonight. June 23rd, 1942. I started work this morning in the wrong mood. I'm sick of mops. My hand hurts across the knuckles with a bruise from ringing, and I'm tired of garbage and washing out 3 cans every morning. Tomorrow I will see the dignity of labor again. But today, it's off. I'm weary of watching families who can afford packages from Baguio enjoy hot coffee and cocoa, hot brown toast, and scrambled eggs in the morning. June gasped with horror when she saw the whites of several hard-boiled eggs tossed in the garbage. It's happened several times from a group that eats only the yolks, so June gathered her courage and talked with them.
Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am?
Yes?
If you're going to throw your egg whites away, would it be okay if I took them?
Well, of course, dear. We'll just leave them on a little plate for you.
Today, the group left June a quarter cup of cocoa headed for the trash. June 16, 1942. So as not to draw attention from the guards, husbands are now using various whistle calls to alert their wives to meet them. As the young girls were imitating the calls in our barrack, someone made the comment,
I used to call my horse the way these men call their wives.
Which gave me a good laugh. Jerry uses a cricket chirp to signal me to the wire. One man sounds like a mourning dove. The cadences are many. June 30, 1942. Out of nowhere, with only a few days' notice, we learned that Nakamura was promoted to run Tarlac prison camp. He left today. On his last round through the barracks to say goodbye, he seemed sorry to go. Nakamura has watched over our trials and tried to straighten out some of the tangled months. We could search far to find one more equable in such an emergency of war and hate. Some even petitioned for him to stay, but others despise him.
Yeah, he can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. When my wife broke her leg, all Nakamura had to do was let her go to the hospital for an x-ray. But the bastard didn't give permission until gangrene set in and had to amputate. She lost her leg because of him.
In typical Nakamura style, he grumbled about how we women should never wear slacks, and made one last magnanimous effort to change the situation. Not long after his departure, Nakamura returned in a truck, his white teeth in a wide smile. The front seat was piled with shoes, hats, evening gowns, and coats. He dumped them all out on the ground, and there before us, in smooth, shining black satin, diamond shoulder straps, and silver lame, was the last word in style before bombs. A farewell gesture from one who had only loot to give us.
Oh, French-heeled slippers.
Will you just look at all of this?
These are gorgeous.
Oh, God. Real furs.
I take back everything I've ever said about Nakamura.
What in the Sam Hill are we going to do with all this junk?
What do you think, Jerry? Should I wear this beaded gown to mop the barracks?
You look like $1 million no matter what you wear, Natalie.
Hey, this is really expensive stuff.
Looky here. They're from London and Paris.
And some of them say, original model. Oh my God, will you look at the labels? The gowns are marked AQ. Aurora Kazan?
The First Lady.
What do you bet?
Looks like good old Nakamura's going to get us wearing dresses one way or the other.
Is there anything else in that pile?
No, just women's evening wear.
Ah, Christ. This is a waste of time.
Yeah, just what we all need.
I gotta go cook second meal. Too bad son of bitch didn't steal keys on meat locker.
July 1, 1942. Today, we said goodbye to some of the guards moving on to their next assignment. Before leaving, the sergeant gave bananas to the children as goodbye gifts. Another held little Donald in his lap. Every time he tried to put Donald back into the playpen, baby arms twined around his neck, refusing to let go. The guard finally pointed to his gun resting on the floor, indicating he had to go, and the mother must rescue him. Donald hung on, protesting to the last. Last night, we heard much singing at the guardhouse to the tune of Auld Lang Syne. It was a farewell party, to which some of our men were invited, enjoying the family-style sukiyaki, singing with the departing guards. They really liked each other. The guards told someone that they had the best time of their lives in here with us. The pity of it, that our enemies should tell us this, that prisoners in a prison camp had given them more fun and friendliness than they had ever had before. How it lights up the poverty, the barrenness of the past, the severity of their lives. A mere struggle to exist, no time for years of pleasure such as we have all known. This place that most members hate or merely endure for a brief spell, in this place, they had the time of their lives. They came from the hell of Bataan, and we seemed like heaven. They go back to a hell in China, anywhere but the peace of home. No wonder they hate to leave and look back on the 2 months here as a wondrous interlude. So American and Japanese men in the Philippines sang Auld Lang Syne. Just boys again. Sorry for the mess we're mixed in together. Forgetting it in an all-too-short evening before historical necessity called again towards some tragic fate. Today, liking us. Tomorrow, hating us.
By the river, there's a big spike up there. You guys were getting about thinking about all this kind of stuff.
Well, here's mud in your eye, boys. To Auld Lang Syne.
To Auld Lang Syne.
Nani de tsukutteるんだっけ? What did they say this stuff is made from?
米なら多分わかんないよな. Rice maybe. They are not sure.
But I thought you guys were going home.
No, Asa-san. We're now going to China.
Should all acquaintance be forgot? Come on. And never promise to mind.
This concludes episode 10. Be sure to listen to the epilogue following this message and tune in for the next episode of Forbidden Diary, the true World War II story of Natalie Crowter, based on her secret journal written from a Japanese prison camp in the Philippines.